When we talk about the history of Huna invasion of India, it is the year 515 AD, which is very important for us. This year saw the defeat of the Alkan Huna ruler Torman by the hands of Prakash Dharman, the Aulikara king. With this defeat, the 15-year rule of the Hunas in western and parts of central India has come to an end. And we find that within the same year, the ruler of the Huns, Torman, also died. And with the death of Torman, the region of Ganga Valley was also lost by the Huns. So we see that after 515 AD, the Huns had lost a large chunk of territory in the Indian subcontinent. And we also see that the Indian powers had risen to challenge these Huns. Particularly, there were two Indian powers. The first were the Aulikaras. We all know that the Aulikara king Prakash Dharman had defeated Torman for the first time. These Aulikaras controlled the region of western Malwa and their capital was the city of Dashapur. The second power were the Maukris. The Maukris had emerged in the Ganga Valley and their capital was the famous city of Kannauj. So these two powers were challenging the authority of the Hunas. So for the Huns, we find that the person who would succeed Torman will first have to contend with a smaller territory. Then we find that he will also has to face the threat from these two powers. We all know that the person who succeeded Torman was his son Mihirkula. Now, Mihirkula most likely did not enjoy the same power which his father used to enjoy. And from his coins, we find that Mihirkula was more like the head of Alkan chiefs. These Alkan chiefs definitely existed during the time of Torman. But because of the victories of Torman, he was able to proclaim himself as the supreme ruler. But this was not true for Mihirkula. These Alkan chiefs had become more powerful in the reign of Mihirkula. This lesser status of Mihirkula can also be seen in his inscription. In his inscription, Mihirkula was not called Rajadiraj Maharaj. Now, this title of Rajadiraj Maharaj was used by Torman. So it is quite clear that Mihirkula did not have the same authority and status which his father had. Although Mihirkula did not have the same power which his father had, but his work was cut out for him. Firstly, he had to preserve the Hanik possession in India, and secondly, he had to counter the threat that was posed from the Aulikaras and the Maukris. To counter this threat that was posed by these two powers, the region of central India, which was controlled by the Hunas, became extremely important. The Hunas here controlled a corridor, and in this corridor, the region of Gwalior became extremely important for the Hunas. From an inscription which was found in Gwalior, it appears that the Hunas had stationed significant number of troops in Gwalior. The aim was to protect this strategically important corridor as it bordered the Aulikara territory in the southwest and the Maukri territory in the northeast. And we find that the inscription mentions the date 15th of Mihirkula's reign. According to some scholars, this is dated to 530 AD, which means that in the year 530 AD, this region was under the control of the Hunas. But these preparation of the Hunas to counter the threat that was posed from these two powers will not mean much, because we find that within a year or two, the Aulikaras had launched another campaign against the Hunas. We already know that it was the Aulikara ruler Prakash Dharman who had led campaign against the Huna ruler Torman. Now this time it was not Prakash Dharman who was leading this campaign. It was his son who was leading the campaign against the son of Torman. We know that the son of Torman was Mihirkula, and this son of Prakash Dharman was Yashodharman. And in one of his inscriptions, Yashodharman tells us that he had bent the head of Mihirkula, which means that he had defeated the Hunas. Now there is one thing which Yashodharman is not telling us. He is not telling us that in this victory he had the help of an ally, and these were the Maukhris. The Maukhris and the Aulikaras had joined hands against the Hunas. The combined military operation which these two powers led resembled a pincer movement. The Aulikaras marched their armies from the city of Dashapura, and crossing the Vindhya mountains, they invaded the valley of the Betwa. The Maukhris moved southwards from their base in the Ganga Yamuna Doab. These two forces met the Huna army in the valley of the Betwa. Now what happened afterwards is known to most of us. The Hunas were defeated by these two powers. The scale of this defeat was so severe that most of the northern territories which were controlled by the Hunas were abandoned by them, and now they were restricted to their base in Punjab and Gandhar. Now there is one important point about this battle which I would like to discuss here. There is this claim that this battle in which Yashodharman defeated Mihirakula is called the Battle of Sondhni. This is not true. Let me tell you why. Firstly, this name Sondhni arises because there is this inscription which is situated in Sondhni called Sondhni Pillar inscription. This inscription tells us that Mihirakula was defeated by Yashodharman. So the reasoning of this name Battle of Sondhni is because this inscription is found in Sondhni. So let's look at the location of Sondhni. We find that the location of Sondhni is 3 kilometers southeast of Mandsaur. Mandsaur or Dashapur, we all know, was the center of the Aulikara authority. It was in the year 515 AD, the Aulikara king Prakash Dharman had defeated the Huna ruler Torman, and we all know that with this defeat, the Hunas lost their control in western and parts of central India. So when Yashodharman ascended the Aulikara throne, this region was not controlled by the Hunas. So if this battle of Mihirakula and Yashodharman was fought in Sondhni, this would mean that Mihirakula had to invade the territory of the Aulikaras. But if we look at this Sondhni pillar inscription of Yashodharman, we find that there is no such mention of an invasion. If we look at another inscription of Yashodharman, which is called Mandsaur inscription, and this inscription is dated to 532 AD. Here, Yashodharman tells us that he had to cross the Vindhya mountains to defeat great kings of northern India. Now, scholars generally believed that these great kings of northern India also includes the Hunas. So we have an inscription of Yashodharman which is dated to 532 AD, which talks about crossing the Vindhya mountains to defeat the great kings of northern India. Now let's look at the date of Sondhni pillar inscription. The date of Sondhni pillar inscription is 534 AD. 2 years after the Mandsaur inscription was inscribed, which means that the victory of Yashodharman against Mihirakula had already happened, and the inscription at Mandsaur was talking about this victory. So this victory was also mentioned in Sondhni pillar inscription. So that is the whole story of this battle and the victory of Yashodharman. Now if you read this inscription, you will find that this inscription talks about the victories of Yashodharman. We can think of this pillar as something similar to the Vijay Sthamb that is present in Chittorgarh. We all know that this structure was built by Rana Kumbha to commemorate his victory over Mahmud Khilji. Now the fact that Rana Kumbha built Vijay Sthamb in Chittorgarh does not mean that he fought Mahmud Khilji in Chittorgarh. The same is also true about Sondhni pillar. Sondhni pillar tells us the victories of Yashodharman, and that is why it is placed in Sondhni. There are some scholars who argue that the Aulikara kings were trying to build a complex in this area, and that is why this pillar was erected here. So the whole story that Yashodharman defeated Mihirakula in Sondhni is not true. There was never a battle of Sondhni. Most likely the Hunas were defeated in the valley of the Betwa river. Now if you want to watch other videos about the Huna invasion of India, please watch this this playlist. Thank you for watching.